Let me ask you a question that might trigger a little bit of PTSD. Think back to the before times, before you knew what a Primogem was, before you had a calendar alert set for server reset, before you spent your rent money on a PNG of a fictional woman. What was the exact moment you lost your soul? Every single one of us has a patient zero. That one character, that one trailer, or that one viral clip that grabbed us by the collar and dragged us, kicking and screaming, into Teyvat. Genshin Impact isn't just a game, it is a masterclass in psychological marketing. Hoyoverse doesn't just sell stats, they sell identity. Whether you joined because you saw a clip of a god pulling a sword out of her chest, or because you saw a broke consultant talking about wine, or simply because the internet wouldn't shut up about the emergency food, you are here because a specific character design hacked your brain. Today, we are going to expose the gateway drugs of Genshin Impact. We are going to break down the specific archetypes that tricked millions of people into downloading a 60-gigabyte mobile game, analyze why they worked, and see if we can find the exact moment you got hooked. Welcome to the history of your addiction. Let's go back to 2020, the Wild West. For a huge chunk of the player base, the hook wasn't even a playable character. It was the mascot. It was Paimon. Before the game launched, if you knew nothing else about Genshin, you knew about the emergency food. That one joke went so viral, it transcended the anime community and hit the mainstream. People downloaded the game purely out of curiosity. They heard the fame, they saw the memes, and they thought, I'll just check it out. I won't spend money. I'll just see what the hype is about. Famous last words. But for the early adopters, the true gateway character was Venti. Venti represents the era of Breath of the Wild comparisons. His design was soft, whimsical, and mysterious. But more importantly, he was the face of the marketing campaign 6 months before launch. I know players who took a year-long break from gaming, saw Venti's teaser, and built a PC just to play him. Why? Because Venti promised something different. He wasn't your typical hyper-masculine Western RPG protagonist. He was a trickster god. He sold the fantasy of the world. He promised that this game wasn't just about fighting, it was about freedom. And for millions of people locked inside during 2020, that promise of freedom, embodied by the Anemo Archon, was irresistible. But if Venti opened the door, Zhongli tore the entire building down. We cannot talk about characters who made us download the game without talking about the CEO of Geo. To this day, Zhongli's listener trailer remains the gold standard of character marketing. I want you to picture this. You don't play Genshin. You think anime games are cringe. You're scrolling through TikTok or Twitter, and suddenly you see a man in a suit, arms crossed, summoning a meteor while a beat drops. I will have order. That single line recruited more players than any ad campaign in history. Zhongli hooked a very specific demographic, the players who wanted power and prestige. His design screams authority. He looks majestic. He looks, frankly, expensive. I read stories all the time about people who saw his splash art, just a static image, and immediately went to the App Store. He looks so cool, so composed, that people were willing to overlook the fact that on release, he was actually terrible. Do you remember physical DPS Zhongli? That wasn't just a meme. It was a desperate attempt by new players to keep their favorite character on the field. People fell in love with him so hard that they refused to swap him out even when he was healing the enemies with his low damage numbers. They played every day until Sumeru just to see him kick a spear. Zhongli proves that gameplay doesn't matter if the vibes are immaculate. He brought in the Husbo collectors, the lore nerds, and the people who just wanted to listen to Keith Silverstein's voice for hours on end. And then Inazuma happened. If Zhongli brought in the people who wanted cool, Raiden Shogun brought in the people who wanted, well, let's be honest, the booba sword. It is impossible to overstate how viral that moment was. It broke the internet. You had people who had never touched a controller in their lives downloading Genshin Impact just to see the purple lady pull a katana out of her chest. But here's the interesting nuance. It wasn't just the fan service, it was the power. I remember reading a comment from a player who was a hardcore Nier Automata fan. They looked down on gacha games. They thought Genshin was just a gooner game for weeps. But then they saw Raiden. They saw the fluidity of her animation, the weight of her attacks, and the sheer spectacle of her Muso no Tatachi. It made them laugh out loud at the absurdity, but it also made them respect the engine. It was the moment the hardcore gamers realized that, wait a minute, the combat in this game actually looks sick. Raiden Shogun bridged the gap between waifu collector and action game enthusiast. She proved that Genshin could be edgy, dark, and incredibly stylish. She didn't just hook people with her design, she hooked them with the promise that they could be a god of destruction. Now, let's talk about a phenomenon that Hoyoverse accidentally created, the secret 5-star. There is a massive group of players who downloaded the game for one specific character, only to find out later that she is basically free. I am talking about Ningguang. To a new player, Ningguang looks like the final boss. She runs a floating palace. She is richer than God. She throws rocks made of gold. Her design is elegant, intricate, and commanding. Millions of players, myself included, saw her in the marketing material and assumed she was the rarest character in the game. I know people who celebrated pulling her in their first 10 pull like they had won the lottery, thinking it was fate, only to realize she's a 4-star. But did they quit? No. They stayed because the design was that good. This also applies to characters like khaenri'ah. Hoyoverse puts 5-star effort into 4-star designs, and that is a brilliant trap. It lowers the barrier to entry. You download the game for the cool lady with the pipe, and you get her easily. You feel lucky. You feel invested. And by the time you realize you need 180 pulls for the actual 5-star, it's too late. You're already addicted. Then we have the aesthetes, the players who don't care about meta, don't care about lore, and don't care about viral memes. They care about beauty. For this group, it was Kamisato Ayaka. Ayaka is unique because she was the beta princess. People were waiting for her for years. Since the very first closed beta footage, there was a cult of Ayaka waiters. She represented the promise of the game. For players who love traditional Japanese aesthetics, elegance, and the samurai archetype, she was the anchor. They downloaded the game at launch and hoarded resources for a year, just waiting for her banner. On the flip side, you have the Kokomi effect. Do you remember her first banner? It was a disaster, meta-wise. -100% crit rate. Everyone said she was trash. But do you know who downloaded the game for her? The people who loved her colors. Kokomi hooked a demographic that video games often ignore, the magical girl fans. Her pastel aesthetics, the mermaid motif, the swimming animations, it appealed to people who wanted the game to feel like a fairy tale. They saw her design and thought, I don't care if she heals the enemy, she looks like a princess and I need her. It proves that art direction is the strongest stat in the game. You can buff a character's damage, but you can't patch their vibe. There is another category of downloading the game that we need to address, the re-download. Genshin has a way of burning people out. The artifact grind, the endless dialogue, the paimon of it all. People quit. They swear they are done. I am never playing this trash again. And then a trailer drops. For a massive chunk of the community, the character that dragged them back from the dead was Scaramouche, the Wanderer. He is the ultimate I can fix him character. He was a villain for 2 years. People waited, they hoped, and when the teaser dropped, showing him gaining an animo vision and flying, the uninstall button didn't stand a chance. The same happened with Kazuha. I know players who quit during the content drought of 1.5, saw Kazuha's burst animation, the autumn leaves, the poetry, and came running back. These characters serve a vital function. They refresh the game's identity. They promise a new playstyle, a new story, a new reason to grind. They are the relapse characters. Finally, we have the most dangerous group of all, the skeptics who were converted by the world itself. There are people who genuinely didn't care about the anime girls. They didn't know a gacha from a gacha. They downloaded the game because they heard a rumor. It's like free Breath of the Wild, or it's like anime Skyrim. These players downloaded the game to benchmark their new phones or PCs. They wanted to see the graphics. They wanted to see if their device would explode. One player mentioned they were playing Nier and Skyrim and felt skeptical about a mobile game. They saw the slimes and rolled their eyes. But then they climbed a mountain. They saw the sunset over Liu Harbor. They read a book in the library that hinted at a 500-year-old war. They didn't fall for a character. They fell for Teyvat. This is the stickiest hook of all. If you come for a waifu, you might leave when a better waifu appears in another game. But if you come for the world, you never leave. You start reading item descriptions. You start watching 4-hour lore videos. You start arguing on Reddit about the timeline of the catastrophe. For these players, the character that made them download the game was the map itself. So, what does this all mean? It means that Hoyoverse has weaponized the crush. They know that we are all looking for something different. Some of us want the daddy energy of Zhongli. Some of us want the mommy energy of Raiden. Some of us want the edgy teen energy of Scaramouche. And some of us just want a pretty fish lady like Kokomi. They cast a wide net. And once you are caught in that net, once you've downloaded the client, updated the launcher, and played through the tutorial, it doesn't matter who got you in the door. Because now you're building a national team. Now you're farming Emblem of Severed Fate. Now you're saving for the next character that catches your eye. The character who made you download the game is just the bait. The game itself is the trap. And looking at the charts in 2026, it is a trap that we are all very happy to be stuck in. But I want to know about you. Go down to the comments right now and tell me, who was your patient zero? Was it a splash art you saw on Twitter? Was it a friend streaming on Discord? Or was it just the sheer overwhelming peer pressure of seeing everyone else playing it? Let me know your story. And if you enjoyed this trip down memory lane, hit that subscribe button. We have a lot more history to uncover. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.